Vietnam Veterans Memorial is a wall consisting of two panels that stretch nearly 500 feet along the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Engraved on this wall are the names of more than 58,000 American servicemen and servicewomen who lost their lives fighting for our country in the Vietnam War. Needless to say, it is one of the most poignant and startling tributes in our country today. In 1973, the year the United States began to withdraw its troops from the effort in Vietnam, a very different wall was beginning to be built. This wall would instead serve as a commemoration like the one today in Washington, but instead would be a barrier set on the foundation of injustice. It stands between a child's conception and birth and divides those of us who have already been born. If the names of every little boy and girl killed since by abortion were etched into a wall like the Vietnam Memorial, that wall would extend for nearly 100 miles. Such a wall, however, cannot have names on it because these children never lived to be named. They are not named because if they were, we would be forced to remember them and be compelled to picture the horrific image of a wall built by the names of more than 58 million dead Americans. The barrier between the beginning of a child's life and his or her birth is not the only wall that has emerged since the legalization of abortion. This practice has disproportionately affected people of color, weakening the unity of the human race in our country. African American children account for only 16% of our nation's newborns, yet they are aborted at nearly 4 times the rate as white children. Furthermore, the abortion industry's strategy of placing a majority of its clinics in urban areas does well to target minority communities and exploits children, mothers, and families of color. Abortion has certainly divided us in this respect. It has set up different walls between ethnicities and has therefore made it difficult for minorities to recover from past discrimination. This racial disparity is sadly evident in today's abortion business, yet another wall that exists is the division that has arisen regarding gender. While the names of only 5 women appear on the Vietnam Memorial, this would not be the case if there were a wall recording the deaths of the unborn. Even in the United States, baby girls are more likely to be aborted than baby boys, and while many who stand on the pro-choice platform will trumpet their concern for women's rights or women's health, this couldn't be further from the truth. Abortion has killed millions of little girls, and the abortion machine makes women another target for its own survival. It preys on a woman's anguish and distress, and in many cases describes abortion as the only answer to her desperation. It exists to profit off of vulnerable mothers, and is later nowhere to be found when feelings of grief and guilt often set in. However, women do not have to give in to the fear that accompanies an unexpected or unwanted pregnancy. There are real solutions, and hope is available before any of these tragedies have happened. The pro-life community has established thousands of pregnancy resource centers across the nation to serve women and their children during times of need. From coast to coast, every time a child is adopted, there are 36 couples whose desire for that opportunity remains unfulfilled. I am lucky to be one who has been blessed with loving adoptive parents. Every woman who has dealt with the difficult and trying dilemma of a crisis pregnancy should be the recipient of an abundance of support, comfort, and encouragement as she makes her way through her pregnancy and beyond. And every child, irrespective of the circumstances of his or her conception, should be the beneficiary of love and stability, not apathy and indifference. No child was created to be an abortion statistic scratched into an invisible wall, yet that has become the fate of millions. If we allow this dark chapter in our history to continue, what additional walls will emerge as a result? I believe one last barrier of division is slowly rising, namely the wall between us and our own humanity. Can any society that allows the disregard, dismembering, and disposing of its most innocent truly be called human? If we fail to cherish the value of every life among us, if we continue to lie to afraid and anxious mothers, then what can we say we have ever accomplished? We are not worthy of the human nature we bear if we are unable to recognize the same identity in others. This final wall is rising tall and stretching wide because we are abandoning our own humanity. We must not add to it any longer. Though our nation is not a perfect nation, we have many times throughout our history risen up to confront and overcome our faults. As we look ahead, what will be history's verdict on this generation? Will it say we came together to do what was honorable and right, or did we allow the walls to stretch on? Did we become victims of hopelessness, or did we work hard to find a way to conquer our challenges without leaving anyone behind? Will the history books go on year after year to say we were silent and inactive when our voices and actions mattered the most? Or will we write a new chapter? A chapter for every generation to come that says in our country we restored the eternal truth that all are created equal and endowed by their Creator with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This new chapter will begin when we do what Americans have always done, to scale the walls of adversity and division. The page will be turned when we acknowledge every person's value and right to fulfill his or her potential and destiny. And maybe one day, after we demolish these walls that abortion has built, we will make a new memorial in our nation's capital that serves as a remembrance for the unnamed whom we have lost. This memorial will stand as a beacon of conviction and courage, declaring that we united to defy the divisions with which this institution of abortion has surrounded us. Let us be sure that history records that we answered its call. For to do so is to fulfill the promise of tomorrow that lies just beyond the barriers of today. For far too long, these walls have stood before each and every one of us in plain sight. It is time to tear them down. Thank you. God bless.